Like, I don't know. It was so weird. It's like, what a pointless video. Alright, Blizzard or players, whose fault is it? By Bellular Clips. I feel like Matt hit the nail on the head right off. Blizzard doesn't force a meta, but they have a community that will, and design the game in such a way that it'll happen. Have you seen the talents that they're making? They are practically forcing a meta. The problem is they make changes to the game so slow that people will obviously fall into ruts. Okay, also, if Blizzard doesn't force a meta, how come you have Demon Hunters that have a certain raid debuff, Monks have a different raid debuff, Mages have a separate raid buff, Priests have a separate raid buff, Druids have a separate raid buff, okay? Am I missing anyone? Warriors have 2 raid buffs, one for like massive HP and one for, what's it called, for like attack power, right? It's like, that's already 6 slots at least that it's like off the top. Oh, wait. You probably need a Druid because they have battle reses, or a DK because they have battle reses. Okay, DK you need for mass pulls. Okay, so right now, half of your raid team is already literally locked in because Blizzard forced the meta. Yes, Blizzard easily forces a meta, okay? It's not the players. They're legit designing boss fights where you would need a DK for AoE pulls, where you would need the warrior to give a massive HP buff, where you would need more damage, so you need a demon hunter and a monk for the extra % damage, right? Where you would need bloodlust, right? Yeah, they definitely force a meta. They have a community that will and design the game in such a way that it'll happen. The problem is they make changes to the game so slow that people will obviously fall into ruts. If they doubled or tripled the rate in which they balance classes, then the meta would change before they were established and the whole experience would feel more fluid. It only works if the classes are all homogenized and so are the bosses. If you make an affliction lock good on a single target fight, it will destroy a council fight. There isn't one meta in WoW, there are several. Classes have kits as... okay, I'm gonna... Blizzard doesn't force a meta. So you are saying... raid buffs are not an intended design by Blizzard. Not intended design by Blizzard to force a meta. Literally 10 out of 20 slots for the raid are taken. Are perma-reserved just by Blizzard designing classes as they do. Is that not metaphors? Alright.
Super and said Blizzard is going to force you into a meta. That's the crazy thing. Yeah, well, Blizzard force into a meta. This is
always
from a little bit ago with the talent stuff. Yeah. That's like a funny thing. Does Blizzard force you into the meta, or
yes,
is that like a self-reinforced thing? Because a while ago Blizzard talked about
it's both, but I would say Blizzard is like mostly at fault.
Game 1's the thing that they make with all the options, and then Game 2 is what happens when it all gets mathed out by other people, and then the meta forms, and then Blizzard doesn't feel they've got control over that meta. I mean, they obviously know that they do because they can change the meta by tweaking things, but...
And this is like, I'm talking about like mythic rating. If you're doing a flex, like minimum flex, right? So like, let's take a notepad real quick. Okay, let's see. Minimum flex classes needed. Okay, so this is if you're trying to make a raid group with like, for a normal heroic, with the minimum amount of people. Warrior, monk, demon hunter, mage, priest, druid, death knight, dark knight, death knight. Who else do we have? Do you need paladin? Not really. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I feel like we need... Let's see, who am I missing? Don't need rogue. Definitely need hunter usually. Hunter soaks. Hunter soaks for sure. What else do you need? Probably a shaman. Yeah, shaman. Link. Shaman Link, okay. That's a massive raid cooldown. Okay, so now let's see what do you have. So monk, tank, demon hunter, tank. Usually that's how it goes. This is usually arms because execute. Mage, fire or frost, whatever. Mage is mage, like doesn't matter. Whatever meta, whatever the strongest is. Priest, holy or disc, whatever you need. Druid, balance, or what's called resto, whatever you need. DK, frost or unholy. Usually unholy is better, but in raids, but it depends on the damage. Hunter soaks, BM for sure. Usually, shaman link. This is resto shaman. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So minimum. Basically 9, so you need minimum 9 people for flex. Minimum positions taken for a flex, and given the best flex is 11 men, 9 are taken by default. 9 are taken by default. This is the player's choice. This has nothing to do with Blizzard, right? This is player choice. Give me a fucking break. Give me a fucking break. This is Blizzard intentional design. And by the way, back when paladins had might, wisdom, and kings, you would need a paladin. That would be 10. Also, by the way, I forgot, druid, mark of the wild. So you do need druids regardless. Okay. Why do you need balance on resto? Because you don't need melees. You need the more range, the better. Alright. Let's see. Do you need paladins? Paladin rogues are optional. Rogues are usually good for soaks as well. And cheat death and stuff like that. Paladins, usually if you take paladins, a holy paladin. What else do we have that I'm missing? I don't feel like I'm missing anything. Who are the other casters? I feel like that's all of them, right? Druid, rogue. Am I crazy? I feel like I'm missing someone. Either way, you get the point. I might be missing someone, but you get the point. 9, if paladins got their raid buffs, it will be 10 classes that are locked into a flex. Usual flex is 11 to 14 men. That's what, like, the ideal number for a flex raid. So guess what? By a vast majority of them are taken just by Blizzard design. So yeah, Blizzard is definitely forcing a meta.
It's a tricky one because so much of that does flow forth from the community.
Yeah, there's so much of that is like, it is their responsibility, but it also isn't at the same time. That's what they don't force you into stuff anyway, but they build a game that, by accident, has perpetuated that. And there's a...
show me a raid where... wow, that does not require... DH, monk, DK, war, sham, mage, druid, priest. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and Jesus Christ, I just run hunter. As a pretty much Mandatory comp. Position of classes. %95 of the time.
There's a little bit of, you're playing our game wrong. You're like, well, if you designed your game the way to perfectly, then they wouldn't be able to play the game that way.
Yep.
To an extent. So I'm thinking like all the comparison, like that wouldn't work in the world of speedrunning where people are going to speedrun fucking anything.
Yeah.
And the only way to not have speedrunners is to make your game completely perfect and prescriptive in every second. So you can't move, or else someone will find a way to get out of bounds.
Warlock. Warlock. Well, Warlock is not mandatory, but helps a lot.
I'm sure people can fucking get out of bounds in visual novels at this point in time. So crazy speedrunners tend to be. So I think that's it's such a deep problem,
Yeah.
but you just have to kind of work around it, and that's a case where like it's almost like the meta is a little bit of a problem here, but you kind of avoid this quite a lot in games like PoE or in single player ARPGs.
I hate when they compare to like MMORPGs to single players. It's just such a bad argument. It's like the way single player games are designed is completely different, right? It's like saying, man, I really enjoy boss fights in Elden Ring, but I really hate them in WoW because the other players are ruining my fun. It's not really it's not designed that way, you know? It's like...
You get to something like a Lost Ark and there'll be meta builds, but then you go
Lost
to PoE
Ark's
and they're
fine.
like, people are doing less meta stuff.
Yes.
It's more about your own enjoyment as opposed to like the communal and societal pressures of being within meta. So it's like, I think if Blizzard could balance to the point where, well, increase complexity, and this is awful because I want them to reduce complexity as much as possible. But if they increase the number...
By the way, PoE still has metas. Straight up. I would say Elden Ring doesn't really have metas, but honestly, ever since, again, even single-player games, a lot of people will look at guides online on like what is the best combination of abilities to do the most damage to finish the game faster. There's not as much, what do you call it? There's not as much freedom as you would want. The only time there's like that much freedom is when a game is completely new and you have so much self-discipline to not look at what other people are doing. But after a couple weeks, 3 weeks, or like when you finish the game and you had your fun, you're gonna look at better builds and stuff like that. Like you're gonna look at theory crafters and you'll be like, oh, well, let's try this build, and then just demolish everything.
Builds, and then balance them all to within a handful of percentage. And also give them particularly different use cases, and like very different use cases. So here's like 2-target cleave, here's 4-target cleave. This sounds crazy, but I think the principle of doing that, to go, here's a bunch of different builds, they're all relatively the same. And now instead of, because one of the things that I think is important is that people go for, like, you look at Blood Mallet, or you look at, say, raid bots, and you see casting patchwork, and you see hectic ad cleave. Those are basically the two forms. Then there's the dungeon slice from raid bots, which is like a general, more overall one.
Sure.
And that's like, I guess just...
Yeah, but that's what the bot fights are.
So many more options, then you kind of win the arms race against simmers, and then no one has a best build. Well, there's no best build because...
No, you don't. Simmers will just find a better way to sim. It's like right now, simmers just already resulted to like using on those 3 defaults. Listen to this: if there were no ad cleave mechanics in the game, there just wouldn't be a sim for ad cleave. They wouldn't have come up with that at all because there's no need to. But because there is a need to, they came up with it. Anything you're gonna throw at the simmers, dude, they're gonna program something to calculate it as close as possible with like 5% margin of error, 99% of the time. Like it's not even a problem for them.
Everything is
it's
so
like they want the challenge. Blizzard's not even bothering offering it to them.
Specifically different. But then will meta still infect that and people go, I'm confused, I'll pick one. Well,
maybe a slight example of that is red and blue director or evoker, devastation evoker.
Yeah.
Right. So you can move red in more of an AOE or slightly less of an AOE. And then with blue, you can really try to make blue be way more single target, depending on your charged thingy.
Some with tractors, I guess.
You get. But there's a version of blue that's a bit more AoE and a bit more single target. Same goes for red. So I guess like there's a little bit of it in that, but still it has that weird thing where like sides of its talent tree sometimes feel like they're fighting with each other.
Yes.
But then that's just strange because of
that's like how the red paladin tree feels like straight up. It's like left side and right side are in constant battle for nothing.
The way that we currently, the way that we are currently used to these classes right now and the sort of choices that we have, it's kind of tricky mapping that all over the talent system.
Yeah. Because like, that's the thing where, and some of this is because they tie it to the gearing loop as well, but even like some of the Shadowlands legendaries, some of the Legion legendaries, some of even the like BFA Azerite traits at times and essences, there are unique meta breaking ways to kind of play the game, build the game, and have your own fun. It's just, I don't know if the player base are super into that in a couple of ways. I think that's where like some of the problems come in, because I've never been one for experimenting with builds in World of Warcraft. I've never.
Only in Legion. I believe only in Legion I experimented with red paladin builds. I had 3 different builds for one red paladin because I only mained the paladin. Like I only mained red paladin in Legion. I had like Holy and Prot to an extent just to do the Mage Tower, but as far as like maining, I only had red paladin. Usually when I like BFA, I mained red and Holy, I believe, and in Shadowlands it was Prot and red. Yeah, pretty much. Usually, so like I don't have the luxury of just like experimenting, but because I only mained red in Legion and the weapon was already like this is the weapon you're using, and the legendaries like these are the legendaries you're using, so it saved me a lot of slots that I didn't have to like fight for, so I could actually play around with more builds. And I had 3 different builds. One was the crit build, like 35% crit. One was my favorite, the 33% haste, and the other one was the 20% haste, 20% crit, and like 40% mastery or some shit like that, which was very hard hitting, but just not as fun as the 33% haste.
Really super interested in it?
30%, it was 33% haste and like 30% mastery, so it wasn't like that far off from like the damage wise. It wasn't far off from the 20%, 40%.
I'm gonna play mini healer. I'm like actually going, oh, possibility. Oh shit.
Yeah.
Oh, that's an interesting item. I'll hold on to that one so I remember. So when I try out a
I can't compare to those. Like it's like the thing is like that whole game revolves around your abilities. World of Warcraft does not revolve around one specific character's abilities. It has so many variables. It's not gonna happen. Like you're not gonna get like what do you call it, a roguelike kind of scenario in World of Warcraft. You could with Torghast, but they decided not to in the end, you know?
Instead of the occultist build I currently have, I will do something else and see if can I break this synergy.
This is what I'm saying, like with Blizzard taking their game too seriously, man. It's like Torghast was supposed to be that fun roguelike activity, and they just became too serious and they nerfed the fuck out of it to the point where you couldn't have fun. It's like, well, you only have specific things that you can take. Why couldn't you mix, like, it was Torghast, was like some weird ass abilities. Why not give paladins some warrior abilities? Because paladin essentially is a warrior meet priest. Why not give warrior some rogue abilities? Why not give, like, just go crazy with this shit, man, you know? It's like, it's not that fucking hard.
Same way with when I was playing, and it might just be because of single player, but same whenever I was playing 7th Dragon, code VFD, back in the day in 3DS, I'm just going, holy shit, this is, because I have so much freedom to change within my build, and it's kind of very obvious, or not obvious, but like I have possibility, I can play with it a bit.
Yeah.
There's just something about World of Warcraft, and maybe that's gear acquisition, maybe that's how the trees and how the builds are built, that they don't feel substantially different, or they feel different in kind of weird ways, that I've never really been super interested in that. So I don't know if that's like a me thing or something like that, or like in single player it just makes more sense. Maybe it's like a time thing of, you know, whatever. In a single player game you're not so, oh, I have to do this fast. Maybe if I could gear in World of Warcraft in 10% of the time, I'd be happy to play with whatever
Yep.
the hell I've got
Yep.
because I'll get there at the end, as opposed to
Wasting all your time trying to catch up with the gear, so then the gear is irrelevant, so you have to regrind again, therefore not leaving you any time to play anything else or try out other shit. Yeah.
I need to be in the fastest possible car or take the fastest possible trip because the angle
Hey, big diddles! What's happening, brother?
is so far away. If the angle was a lot closer, and then I could kind of
Read my text. What is your text? Bullet Train movie is playing. Is it any good though? I don't even know what that movie is, to be honest.
my time getting there. Almost like, you know, if you're walking, say you're walking an hour to work,
Oh.
you're probably going to take the fastest route. But if you get like a 50,
Oh, is that with all the like assassins in one train or some shit like that? And Brad Pitt like acts like he's like an innocent bystander? Ah, shit. When do you want to go? 4 or 5 p.m.? You could. What happened with the brisket plan, by the way? Another thing in
15 minute walk
text.
to work, and there's a couple of routes. The stakes of changing those routes are so much less. So you can kind of go, yeah, fuck it. Same with Shadowlands Legendaries, whereas like this comes into alt friendliness as well, where
It's one.
if
It's one or the other.
Shadowlands was a lot more alt friendly, is there a
It's
decent
one or the
chance I
other.
would be playing, like,
Definitely
Mistweaver
not both.
to heal just because I kind of feel like it.
Well, yeah, of
Or
course.
yeah, versus I'll just play, you know, H-Pal before and then Ardruid now. It's like,
You
would
want
I be
to go
able
to
to
the pool?
engage a little more on that with less kind of work into it? I think that's kind of the thing as well that I hope to see a little bit improved. I mean, obviously, you know, FF14.
That's
is an
also
example
true.
now where it's like, oh yeah, I have nothing to do to play another job. I'd say.
When do you want to go to the pool? Whenever. Probably around 1 is probably best. Because I need to wait for the shopping. I'll probably have to carry some groceries. Yeah, probably leave it 1 or something like that. I'll have to text you back about it. Because, like, I need to see something. I'll text you.
Instead of level it. So I just go, I've done this fight as a sage. I'll do it as a ninja. Oh, cool, sweet. I haven't had to do much of it, that's except spend a small fraction of my gil on like mark on crafted items. It's the crafters I've went and made. There was a comment there, yeah. I think Matt's problem is that no builds really are that unique in WoW, because that's the design, or WoW, because that's the design. They don't want too many things interacting because then fun is detected. Yeah, that's another thing. Whereas like you can't do anything really crazy or enjoyable. It's like it's all like kind of minor changes. Like, I guess one of the examples, I suppose, and it's not even like really build wise. It's more.
Who's this dude? I don't know. He talks about WoW a lot. World of Warcraft. The stream reacts, and I want to play Final Fantasy, but apparently I'm going to the pool now, so no more about that. Mostly I'm reacting to World of Warcraft stuff, Final Fantasy stuff, a bit of politics, what do you call it? Feminist bullshit. What's the state of WoW nowadays? Still on, what's it called? On bypass. Yeah, the savior Andrew Tate. Even you heard about Andrew Tate. That's fucked up. I have a video about Andrew Tate that I'm gonna watch soon after this. So yeah.
More intellectually satisfying than gameplay satisfying. To go say Slick Ice. Say you go Deathborn Slick Ice as a Frost Mage in Shadowlands for the Cleaving Frostbolt, as opposed to say the Freezing Winds. Or like that choice is fun.
Years ago, really? Oh, I guess he just blew up now. I guess as a kickboxer. He has good statements. He's definitely exaggerating on a lot of things to make a point, but like I would say overall, he's not wrong on most of the things he says. But yeah,
Slightly different, but it's like different. Like
I felt like you would really like him, to be
as will the
honest.
Adventure Buds.
Knowing
You're not
you.
going suddenly. Oh yeah, suddenly. Actually, Frostmage is a good example because it was the
Okay,
Ice Lance build,
Frostmage.
and
Yeah,
that was clearly like fun detected, or just triple Ice Lance.
yeah.
Or
Yeah, Blizzard is fantastic at ruining fun for players. It's like, oh shit, this works really well. That's why they went so conservative with the DK build. That's like when you use rune power, you get a stack of like 10% increase auto speed or some shit like that, which stacks up to 3 times, so you get 30% increase auto speed. But it's such a short duration that it doesn't last long enough, so it's extremely hard to maintain it, therefore making the build almost non-viable in 95% of the cases.
was it the Ice? Well, yeah, there was the Ice Lance only
Yeah, 100%. At 100%, he's a lot of show and salesmanship, yes.
build in BFA, I believe.
Ice Lance only.
I think it was, yeah, because of a couple different Azrael things and
Oh, it's really
went
funny.
together. So I think that was really enjoyable, but yeah, there's a whole bunch of stuff there where I think that needs to be kind of looked at, and I hope these talent trees will do some of that.
Yeah,
I don't know if they will them.
we'll see.
Well, we'll talk about that in a second. Anyway, so yeah, that's the Bellular video. I mean, I would 95% of the time blame Blizzard over players. Players just use the tools that Blizzard gives them. Blizzard is the one who's dictating what tools they have. I would blame Blizzard 99% of the time. It is what it is. Anyways, that's the video. Thanks for watching. I'll see ya in the next one.